and players mobbing.
But Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jason Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by PrizePicks and the Gametime app.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Big Three NBA podcast. Sherrod Blakely, Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis. Before we get started though, I have to tell you that when you're not listening to our podcast, that hopefully you're showing love to PrizePicks. They are America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. You can download the app today and get a $50 bonus after your first $5 lineup. Also, don't forget about Gametime, which takes the guesswork out of getting great prices to your favorite sporting events. Just download the Gametime app today. You can create an account and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And also, as a friendly reminder, this podcast is part of the CLNS Media Network, which is where you can find our podcast, of course, and a lot of other great Celtics content on a regular basis. Okay, guys, let's get right into it. Hall of Fame weekend right there in Springfield, Massachusetts. A lot of honorees, including a couple of Celtics nemesis, Carmelo Anthony. Gary's favorite guy.
Gary, see what happens when they try to say it. Gary.
Why did you write that, though? Like, you set me up for failure. You set me up for failure. You know what? I'm not forgiving you for that.
You know what? I try to put it, Gary. That's no. That. So you went to BC, huh?
No.
Shout out to Boston College. Shout out to Boston College. Alma mater. Kwani, all I know is I wouldn't have flubbed that, and Gary wouldn't either.
Yes, you would have.
That's what Cal and Syracuse do for you. We learn about nemesis.
Say it. What are they?
Nemesis.
That's not a word. Anyway, Carmelo Anthony, Gary's favorite guy, and Dwight Howard. We know Melo's impact on the league. We know Dwight's impact on the league. But who got under the skin of Celtics fans more?
Did she just throw you a little shade, Gary? Did you say that right?
I didn't throw him any shade.
That little Gary's favorite player, Melo. I heard that.
It will go down in history as that. Sorry, Gary.
Gary, once again, Gary. First, she said she didn't throw shade at you, and then she doubled down on the shade that she didn't throw at you. Damn. You know what, Kwani? You know what that makes you today? That makes you a nemesis.
I'm just a nemesis because it's singular for the record. One nemesis for Gary today.
Gary, help your girl out, man. Help your girl out. Ooh.
All right. For the Celtics, we don't have to answer for them. The Celtics, who do you think got under the fan skin more?
Oh, Melo.
Yeah, I feel like that's
Melo. I mean, first, the main reason is because they really couldn't stop Melo. Melo, when you look at his career, in a kind of 30,000-foot view, it's clear that he gets you buckets in every way imaginable. I think you can make a case that Carmelo Anthony is one of the greatest players in NBA history at just simply flat out scoring. You got guys who are better shooters. You got guys who can finish at the rim better. You've got guys who are better mid-range shooters. But when you look at all the different points on the floor where guys get buckets, I don't know if there is a more complete player at scoring the ball than Carmelo Anthony. He has size. He has strength. He's got incredible footwork. The only player whose footwork I would put at a level similar, if not better than Carmelo's, is my guy, Corliss Williamson, who, again, phenomenal footwork. Him and Bernard King. Bernard King topped the list. My bad. That Bernard King #1 in that category. But the point is this. Carmelo Anthony is as complete a player as we've seen, and the Celtics got some of that business on a regular basis. I know certainly one of the lowlights for Celtics fans, they remember, I think it was 2012? I think it was a year where the Knicks knocked the Celtics out in 6 games, and they had that real – what's that?
2013.
Right, okay. Around that time. It was right before KG and Paul got shipped out to Brooklyn for a hot minute. But Melo's footwork, Melo's ability to score, it was really, I think, almost at its peak at that point. But again, as someone who went to Syracuse, and loves Melo for what he did for Syracuse, it's great to see him get his flowers, as you know, at a relatively early stage in his career. post-playing career. Just looking at him, he's making the transition to do the TV thing. So once again, Melo, when he came to college, was coming for heads, came that championship. Now he's going to the broadcast booth, coming for some folks' jobs. Much respect. Much respect.
I'm going to have to say Dwight Howard because, one, there was playoff matchups like 2009, 2010, Orlando faced the Celtics in the playoffs. In 2009, they knocked the Celtics out.
They got him.
That was without Kevin Garnett, who was obviously hurt with a bone spur in his knee.
Glad you pointed that out, Gary. No KG.
But that 2009 team could have probably went back-to-back or at least got to the finals and faced the Lakers for a rematch if KG isn't injured. But Dwight in 2009 and then 2010, they got revenge and they beat the Magic in the conference finals after beating Cleveland. And they were able to get back and get back to the finals in 2010. So they faced Dwight twice consecutive years. And Dwight, Orlando was kind of the team that was the main rival to the Celtics in the Big Three until LeBron went to Miami. Obviously, those 08 and 09, and in 2010, everything changed. And Orlando was a competitor, but Orlando never was the same. And then obviously Dwight asked out and got traded to the Lakers. And obviously things went kind of haywire after that for him. But for me, I think Dwight Howard is definitely the person because of the two playoff matchups of the team, the being a member of the team that knocked off that 09 Celtic team. Carmelo in New York, Carmelo was a great player in New York, but by the time he got to New York, the Big Three are older. The Celtics were in transition. So I don't look at like Melo as a main rival just simply because of the timing. Right now, if he had gotten there and the Big Three was still the Big Three, it'd have been different. But he got there and they were able to beat him in 6 games. And that was obviously the last games of Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. Ray Allen already gone. Had already gone to Miami. So to me, it's Dwight Howard. And, Dwight's matchups with KG were infamous. Obviously, there were rivalries there. And it seemed like, it just wasn't the same after that with Dwight. Obviously, if you look at Orlando next year, after losing to the Lakers in the Eastern Conference Finals, they lost in the first round to the Hawks, and then Dwight asked out, and that was his last year, 2011 in Orlando. And I think the consensus from the Hall of Fame kind of for Dwight was you probably should have never asked out of Orlando. He stayed there until 2012, and then his first 8 seasons, and then he's still LA, Houston, Atlanta, Charlotte. Remember that year? Washington, where he missed almost the entire season because he had a glute injury. I've never seen that before in my life.
If you're playing for Washington, you get used to those kind of weird injuries.
Remember, I missed the entire year with a glute injury, and I think and obviously, as someone had mentioned too, he started having back issues. And so he wasn't the same impact player, but he did help, the Lakers and win the bubble championship. But to me, he's the main nemesis because you were talking about prime Dwight, 09, 10, where he was 4th in the MVP voting. Both years he won Defensive Player of the Year. Both years he was first team All Defense and first team All NBA. And that was the guy that was stopping the Celtics from getting to potentially 3 consecutive championships. So as much as Melo and he played, the Knicks are the rivals and all that, he played for the Knicks. To me, it was more Dwight.
I guess for me, Gary, though, and you brought it up, and it's a point that I don't think you can gloss over the fact that when Orlando put it together and were able to leapfrog past Boston, there was no KG. To me, when KG's been in the building, he couldn't do it, couldn't handle it. And it seems that whenever the Celtics played the Knicks, there was always a little bit of extra animosity in that game when Melo was around. And you know, we're not going to get into all the different storylines through the years involving Melo and people close to Melo and, you know, things that were said or things that weren't said in the course of the game where team tempers got heated and stuff like that. But I like the fact that both of those guys went in when they did, because I think that I think both of those guys had careers that people, when you look at them in retrospect, have a greater appreciation for it than they did when they played. You know, Melo, as great a scorer as he was, remember the era that he played in. At no point was Melo the clear-cut favorite as the best player at his position because of some dude named LeBron James. And Dwight Howard, no matter what he did, no matter how dominant he was, you always felt as though he wasn't getting his just due from the public. I think he had a great career, one of the greatest careers that we will ever see. But you didn't get the sense that people had that true appreciation for what he brought to the game. I just remember when he was in LA, and you know, he was getting obviously near the end of his career, and there were some people who actually thought maybe he won't go into the Hall of Fame. And I'm thinking, like, what the hell are you smoking? Because Dwight, I mean, you look at it, you put his resume, if you stripped his name off of the resume and just simply went by his accomplishment, you would swear that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, that he's a guy that is one of the top 3, top 4, top 5 big men ever to play the game when you look at what he's been able to do at both ends of the floor. But I still want to stick with Melo. You made a good argument, Gary, but I'm going to stick with Melo, though, because I just think that, again, every time they played, it was like it felt personal. No matter whether it was game 62 or game 6 in the postseason. And with Dwight, yeah, he want to do well, and they want to do well against him, but it never felt like it was anything more than I just want to beat him because he's a good player. The Melo and the Knicks, it felt like it was a little bit more going on more times than not when they met.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the Dwight argument is very interesting. I think the Dwight argument, I've done a lot of thinking about this and wrote about it over this past weekend, seen him enshrined. I think we all wanted more from Dwight. I just think we all wanted more. We expected more. He comes into the league at 18. He's this physical specimen. You know, you could say like KG was obviously came out right out of high school, but KG in 1995 when he came in did not have an NBA body. He was just tall. He was tall and he was skinny. Now he built his way up. Dwight came into the league with an NBA frame at 18 years old. He was a grown man. It was just, and he had an opportunity to get to be that top 5 hierarchy of centers. Kareem, Russell, Wilt, Elijah Wan, and you want to say Ewing, okay, or something like that. Whatever top 5 you want to put in as the greatest centers of all time. If you want to consider Duncan a center and not a power forward, you know, you can draw up who number 5 would be. But I think people, or you know, Shaq, obviously. You know, if I didn't mention Shaq already, you know, you can put in Shaq, right? Okay, so the top 5 centers. I think people expected that Dwight was going to push that into that, put himself in that group, that he was going to be with his physical skills coming out of high school. So he had 4 more years to put up numbers, 4 more years than Russell, 4 more years than Kareem, 4 more years almost than Wilt, you know, 3 more years than Shaq. Like, he's 18, and people thought he was going to put up crazy rebounding numbers, and he did enough. 3 defensive player of the year, 8-time All-NBA.
Led the league in rebounding 5 times.
Yeah, he did it, but some people are still asking for more. He never won a championship with being the best player on his team. He never led Orlando to a championship. Then he asked out of Orlando. He goes to LA with Kobe, and then that was a lot of pressure because it was Kobe and Nash. Remember, it was their new big 3. They were trying to run with the big dogs in Miami, and Dwight asked out and wanted out, and he couldn't play with Kobe, and Kobe was, not nice, very nice to him because he sensed that he didn't want to work hard. So to me, it was like, how do I put it? Like, there's just something more that we're asking from Dwight. And he finished his career. He put up the numbers, top 10 rebounding, I think 13th all-time in blocks. Like, he did enough. But I think we all expected more. And then the fact that Dwight, we all considered him like not as serious as he should be. Mm-hmm. And that's a whole thing. Now it's mental health and play with joy, and don't take it too seriously because you don't want to. But 20 years ago it was like, no, man, you got to play like a dog. You got to be pissed out there. Like, we ain't trying to make Kobe wasn't trying to make friends.
No.
Like Shaq wasn't trying. Like, Dwight was always smiling, and I think people had a problem with that because they didn't think he lacked. They had the intensity, the dog in him to be a top 5 all-time center. Mm-hmm. And so now he's top 10, right?
Yeah,
because
I would say so.
Ewing, Elijah Wan, obviously, if you want to put a Elvin Hayes in there for the old schoolers, Bill Walton in his prime when he was healthy, like you could start arguing where Dwight fits with the top 10, but he definitely ain't top 5. And I think people thought here's a generational guy physically who should be, he's young and he come right out of high school. Like, here it is. And he messed it, he kind of messed it up. The whole thing with asking out of Orlando and kind of backstabbing Van Gundy, and then never really finding a home after that, bouncing around the league, and then, and he just doing stuff messy off the floor. So there was a whole lot of people who just don't like Dwight. They just don't like him. And like you said, Sherrod, like he's not a Hall of Famer. That's crazy. I've written that, and people would fight me and send me emails. He's not. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yeah. Like, you look at his numbers. If Mitch Richmond's a Hall of Famer, if Tim Hardaway's a Hall of Famer, damn near Dwight. If Chris Webber's a Hall of Famer, then damn Dwight Howard's a Hall of Famer. Like, what are we talking about here? But I just think we all left, and you could say the same thing about Carmelo. Love Carmelo. He was my 2013 MVP. However,
there you go.
However, only won conference finals in his career. Never led a team to the promised land. Never won a championship. Didn't really get close. And so prolific scorer, great player, but asked out of Denver before Denver could really become a real contender in the West. And then in New York, nobody's won with the Knicks since 1973. So it's hard to blame him for what's happened in New York. Remember, it was supposed to be Stoudemire and him. Stoudemire got hurt, never was the player he was at Phoenix. Then they tried to sign Joakim Noah. That didn't work out. Like, the Knicks tried a whole bunch of stuff to try to compete and around Carmelo, and it didn't work. So I think the kind of coherent theme of this Hall of Fame with the male players, not the female players, because the female players, that's a hell of a class with Sue Bird, Sylvia Fowles, and Maya Moore. Those are unquestionable.
Maya Moore was so damn good. I don't think people truly appreciate how amazing she was.
It's sad, not sad why she gave up a career. It's sad that she left in her prime, and this current WNBA generation that's now really appreciating the game didn't get a chance to see Maya Moore finish her career, because she's 30. Because I was just like, she was doing the interviews we were in the Mohegan Sun, and I'm like, wait a minute, how old is she? Yeah. And she's literally 36. So she still could be playing.
Yeah.
I mean, she still could have been if she decided to lock in and focus, and she left for great reasons. So no one's arguing or questioning that, but she still could be playing because there's players in the league. Diana Taurasi was 42. Sue Bird was 40. Like, she could have tried to push it. Now, who knows what her production would have been, but she left a lot of food on her plate in terms of her career. And so we have to live off her being one of the best players of all time. And then at 30, getting out of there. And and I just wish hopefully this current women's basketball boom and the fans, the younger fans who are all on Asia and Stewie and Caitlin Clark, go back and look at some game tapes of Maya Moore and see how great. So she was kind of the prototype small forward. She was like the perfect player.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it was just like, damn, she's the perfect player, all the championships at UConn and just, then going to Minnesota and winning 4 championships with the Lynx, like just a perfect prototype player. And
for those who don't know, she left because she was helping Jonathan Irons,
her husband.
He was wrongfully convicted, and she felt shocked.
11 appeals, and he got free on the 12th.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was her crusade, and I just think that we all applaud and appreciate that. But strictly on a basketball level, I think everybody wishes that we had a little bit more of Maya. So
I was really surprised at how at peace she was with that decision, because I did an interview with her and her husband when they came out with their book, and I remember I was asking her about that specifically, about just leaving the game really at your peak. And your peak is a little different than most people peak. Your peak is like sharp as a tack peak. And just walking away and just being comfortable with that decision and not having regrets. And she made it very clear that, she was moved by something bigger, stronger, more powerful than the game of basketball. And that, again, to have that kind of perspective, and to your point, Gary, to be as young as she is and have that level of wisdom and discernment about what matters to her, that goes above and beyond this game of basketball, that, if we're being honest and keeping it real, is a very superficial type thing. What she was searching for and what she found was much deeper than that. I was listening to an interview that Gino Auriemma did, where he was asked about Sue Bird and Maya, and he was asked, did you see early on whether they had the potential to be this good, Hall of Fame type players? And he was like, no and yes, and no, basically no to Sue Bird, who was she's just such a tireless worker. Who just kept getting better and better. But he was just like Maya Moore from day one. It was like, damn, she's like that good. He gave this example where they were playing an early preseason game, and this was her freshman year, and they were down by like 1 point, and the other team had the ball, and they inbounded it, and before the girl could get a dribble up, Maya stole it from her, called a timeout. UConn went on to win the game. And he's like, and this is my true freshman, who has the wherewithal to create that kind of turnover, have the foresight to know that we need to get a stoppage of play, timeout, and then just deliver. And from a physical standpoint, she is the blueprint for what great basketball players want to be. And from intelligence, ability, and to your point, Gary, there's a part of you that do feels like you missed out on a really great thing, but not seeing more of her play. Because for those of us who saw her play in college, she was the truth. She was a cheat code. She could shoot the ball well enough where you had to respect that, strong enough to beat you off the dribble, could finish at the rim, played defense, could rebound. She was as complete a player as you could possibly have. Shout out to Maya Moore, man.
Shout out to Maya Moore. All right, before we close out the Hall of Fame conversation, let's hone in on the Celtics specifically. Every time we talk about Hall of Fame, of course, we have to bring it full circle. So who is someone that isn't in the Hall of Fame right now, obviously related to the Celtics, that you believe should be there?
Rondo.
Okay.
Rajon Rondo. He meets to me, the bare minimum, which is 4 All-Star appearances. He's got that. You look at the all-defensive appearances. You look at the numbers aren't going to wow you. But the one thing about Rondo that to me makes him a Hall of Famer is when you think about the Rondo narrative, when was he at his best? It wasn't during a long 82-game stretch of the season. It wasn't during the offseason. It was during the playoffs. Playoff Rondo was a real thing. We saw that up close and personal. When you are able to be the best player on the floor for an extended period of time the way he was, playing with not 1, not 2, but 3 future Hall of Famers, and you're literally the little brother of the crew, you're special. You are a special talent. And Rondo showed that night in, night out as a Celtic when it mattered most, which is the playoffs.
Good one.
I'm going to say Casey Jones as a coach.
That's a good one, Gary. That's a good one.
Thank you, Sherrod.
No, facts. I'm trying to give you facts for once.
It's like we on Family Feud. Good answer. Good answer, Gary. Anyway, where's Steve Harvey at? Anyway.
I've been watching Steve Harvey's show on Netflix, but that's another story.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite.
Romeo, my dude.
All-time favorite shows. Well, I used to call and
Bobby and Bullethead.
Yeah, I used to call Bobby and Joe Sway Romeo and Bullethead. And Bobby was so young, he had never seen the show before, obviously, because he's, he was probably 2 when it was on the air. Yeah. And then he saw it and goes, damn, Joe Sway, we kind of look like those guys.
I can hear Bobby saying that too.
Yeah. So I did that. Anyway, Casey Jones is he's in the Hall of Fame as a player, not as a coach. He won 2 championships with the Celtics, and led the Washington Bullets to the finals in 1975. People really don't remember a lot about that. Like, Casey Jones was a badass coach before he got to the Celtics. And which baffles me is coaches, like, we just saw Billy Donovan get in. Okay, Billy Donovan won back-to-back chips at Florida with, University of Florida, hasn't done a great deal of winning in the NBA. So he's getting in on winning back-to-back championships. Much respect, congratulations. But, like, if you win 2 championships as a coach, because we all think because of the victories, Doc Rivers is getting in, and Doc Rivers has won, right? Why?
Doc's definitely getting in.
Yeah. Why has Casey Jones not gotten in as a coach? He led the Celtics to the 84 and 86 championships. He walked away on his own. It wasn't like he was, and he never, he did some like interim coaching or whatever after that, but he kind of walked away in the late 80s. And I think 1980, after the 87 season, he kind of walked away because he saw he was just tired out. And so he didn't have like this long, he didn't coach for 30 years. But to me, this is somebody who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And he's in as a player, right? And he walked away after the 88 season. They went 57 and 25. He coached the Sonics in 91, and then 92, part of 92. And then he was an assistant in Detroit. And then what we don't really realize is Casey Jones coached in women's basketball professionally. He coached the New England Blizzard of the ABL, and nobody talks about the ABL. The ABL was a competing league for the WNBA in the late 90s.
Yep.
Okay. And they had separate teams. I remember covering the draft. They had a team in San Jose, California. And I went and covered, as a young reporter, covered the draft. And they had, they had a draft just like the young ladies dressed up and were drafted by the ABL. Now, it didn't last long, but there was a competing league for the WNBA. There was 2 professional women's leagues at one time. And so look it up, the ABL, and Casey Jones coached the New England Blizzard of the ABL. So to me, Casey Jones deserves to be elected to the Hall of Fame with .674 winning percentage. 522 total wins. And, let's say he coached, if I count my math here, 11 total, 4 and 7, 11 total years. One with the San Diego team of the ABA, 3 seasons in Washington, 5 in Boston, 1 in Seattle. He won 2 championships, led 3 other teams to NBA finals. So where's Casey's love? He's passed away a few years ago, but he deserves his props as a coach. Bill Russell was inducted as a coach, and so should Casey Jones. So I'm leading that campaign to get Casey elected to the Hall of Fame as a coach. This is a misjustice, and there's too many damn people getting into the hall now for Casey Jones to be left behind.
Facts.
You just made your case very well, so I hope that we get to see it come to fruition as well. Thank you. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but just a reminder that this is the Big 3 NBA podcast, which is part of the CLNS Media Network, which is where you can find our podcast, past and present, as well as a lot of other great Celtics content on a regular basis. Sherrod?
Yes, and while you're at it, definitely check out our good friends at PrizePicks, which is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. Again, you can mix and match your player projections from different sports like women's basketball, soccer, esports, you name it. PrizePicks has you covered. And because they've invented the flex play, that means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And again, with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sport, again, accessible to all. How do you get in? It's real simple. You download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Again, you download the app today. Use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. And we're also going another shout out to our good friends at Gametime. This is where you go take advantage and get yourself an opportunity to get to the games that you want to get to and not have to break the bank to do it. I can tell you right now, with college football season in full swing, I am looking to get in as many games as I can. I have what you would call a dual fanship thing going on, where there's my alma mater, Syracuse University, who had that big win over UConn, YCon, whatever they call themselves last week. And we got that powerhouse. Okay, I'm lying. They're not a powerhouse. We play at Colgate soon. And, for Gary, who's shaking his head at my alma mater playing a team that maybe they're not quite at the level of Cal, but they're not that far behind either. That's another story another day. But if I were planning to go to that game, which I won't be able to because I can't be there, but if I did, I could get in for $4. That's literally how much it will cost to get in there. But I will be going to see my other team, which is the Oregon Ducks. Because they're on the West Coast, they don't come east very much. They're going to be at Rutgers a little bit later on this season. And me and the family got the Gametime tickets, and we got great seats, great price. So we're going to load up the SUV and head down to Jersey and check out that game. And that'll be cool. Nice little family get together. Are we there yet? We're gonna have a few. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. But that's one of the big great things about Gametime. You can load up the family, get multiple tickets, and not feel again as if you're breaking the bank to see your favorite sporting teams play. And it's incredibly easy to use with the Gametime guarantee. That means you can trust that you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. And the best part about it is you save a little money. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code CLNS. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today.
Okay, before we go, we have to once again bring it full circle for the Celtics, but let's talk about former Celtics this time. We have Marcus Smart, who will be playing with the Lakers. We have Drew Holiday with the Blazers, Kristaps Porzingis in Atlanta, and Luke Cornett with the San Antonio Spurs. Al Horford still TBD. We know that he reportedly may sign with the Warriors, but again, that's not any official news just yet. But all of that being said, which former Celtic do you both think will have impact on their team winning this upcoming season?
Who you got, Gary?
I got Kristaps in Atlanta. He appears to be healthy. I mean, I wish the Celtics, I'm sure the Celtics wish he was healthy 6 months ago, but he's healthy, and he played for Latvia in Eurobasket, and he appears to be back to himself. So I think he'll help Atlanta greatly, give Trae Young a lob threat, play a little defense, hit some threes. He'll be a welcome addition to a team that's really looking to take a big step in the Eastern Conference. So I'm going to say Kristaps, if he's completely healthy, it looks like he is. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, he's not an 82 game a year guy. I'm sure the Hawks will rest him in particular times and give him, maybe not play him in back-to-backs and maybe give him a 60 game slate as opposed to 82. But I think he'll have a big impact, giving them a steady, consistent scoring center. And another big with the young kid from USC that is coming back, because I know Clint Capella is now back in Houston, which is interesting there. But Olukondu, I always butcher his last name, but he'll be teaming up with Porzingis. And to me, I think the Hawks are a definite team to watch. We have to watch out, give Lauren Williams some heads up down there, and I'm sure she's all on the coverage of the Hawks down there for the AJC. But I think she might be going deep into the playoffs covering that team, because if they're completely healthy, Quinn Snyder's a good coach. Porzingis will bring another element they haven't had. I think he'll have a big impact down there.
That's a good pick. I can see that. But I'm going to go with my guy Marcus Smart in LA. And here's the thing. When I look at what Marcus brings to the table, and I look at what the Lakers need, and it's a perfect fit. I mean, they need a wing defender. Even when we're talking about, low weight Luka now, who's lost some weight, they're still going to need somebody who can defend at a high level on the wing. And Marcus, he's had a couple of, obviously banged up seasons since he left Boston. But I do think that health-wise, I think this is going to be a good season for him. I think he's going to regain the health form that he had before. And the thing about Marcus Smart, I think at this point, is that he realizes that the window of winning a championship or competing for a championship is shrinking. And we've seen Marcus, he's shown the ability to play through pain throughout his time in Boston. And a large part of that was because that team was being built to compete for a championship. And I think in LA, he's going to have that same mantra. I think you're going to see a lot of games where Marcus isn't going to be necessarily top shape health-wise due to pains and bumps and bruises, but he's going to be out there playing because he knows that the window for him to have a shot at winning a championship is small, and he's with a team that needs what he does best. And maybe most important, I think most of us agree that this is Luka's team. And who was lobbying the hardest to bring Marcus Smart to LA? Luka. And so when you've got the new face of the franchise wanting you to be there, and you've got, just a very clear, defined role that they're going to need from you. And not that long ago, you were literally the best player in the NBA at doing that, which is defending the ball. It makes a lot of sense that you're going to have a big impact on that team, especially with the added motivation. Again, you are playing for a team that has a very clear role for you, a role that could help them compete and contend for a championship. Yeah. So Marcus Smart's my guy.
That's a good one. All right. Well, we've got to the end of the rundown.
Now, Kwani, before we get out of here, Gary, stop. Stop it, Gary. This is a good thing. Kwani is continuing to expand the Kwani Lunis empire.
Seriously, incorporated.
So, so the empire's expanded. So, Kwani, can you share the good news?
Yeah, well, I'm assuming if you're a Celtics fan, you most likely have roots in New England. So if that's true, then you're most likely a Patriots fan, and I will now be hosting their pre- and post-game show. That's on Patriots.com. So if I'm not as annoying to you on this podcast and you want to see more, you can watch Patriots pre- and post-game. It's an hour before every game, home or away, and then right after the game, the last whistle for every Patriots game.
Congratulations, Kwani, and may you continue to prosper and limit the amount of nemesis that you have in your life.
Amen. I take that one. Gary is so fed up. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Gary, you can't wish her to not have any nemesis.
Yeah, I don't want any nemesis.
Damn.
That ain't right, Sherrod.
I got to work on my too. All right. Well, before we get out of here, for those of you that are watching the show, we're going to ask you one more time. I feel like there's a telethon every time I do this, but please like, subscribe, leave a review if you are a fan of this podcast. And for those of you that are watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe to the Celtics, the CLNS Media and Celtics All Access YouTube channel. You'd think I'd be used to saying that by now, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Celtics content. And one more thing, make sure you turn on those post notifications so that you know the instant a new video drops. For Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis, and this is the Big 3 NBA Podcast.
We out.